Welcome to If These Balls Could Talk, where each of us brings forth 5 topics to discuss. This is Mark, along with John and Pete, and joining us today is our special guest, Mr. Oak James Miller. Welcome to the podcast, Oak.
Thank you. Pleasure.
I like the full name. That was brilliant. That was very
James.
professional. That was very
good, yeah.
professional,
I like
Mark.
that.
Mr. Oak James. How's everyone been? John, let's start with you.
I've been good. I had a physical today. I felt old. I got a new phone.
No more COVID, right?
No more COVID, so I can breathe again. So that's good. It's new phone day. Yeah. Everybody loves new phone day, so I got a new phone.
Everybody
That's
loves
cool.
new phone day.
Yeah, everybody loves new phone day. My phone is beautiful. And
Ooh.
yeah, I started a CBD gummy habit today to try to help my anxiety. So we'll
Nice.
see how that goes.
Okay.
So
Has it been working so far?
Do we get high,
I mean,
John,
I felt
for the
great.
show?
I felt great today. So
Nice. I just got to turn on a fan because we're live.
all right, you
Oh.
do that, Pete.
Well, I was going to ask Pete how you were doing, but if you need to turn on a fan.
Too hot. I'm eating really hot, delicious soup, and it's like,
Yes.
Okay.
Before we started, Pete was eating a cream
He definitely
of
wasn't just drinking
potato
his
balls.
soup. Cream of potato balls.
with bacon and mushroom. Actually, shiitake mushrooms in there. A lot of good stuff.
All right,
Well,
how are we doing?
How
Pete?
are you doing, Pete? Yeah, exactly.
And catch us up on Baby Watch 2023.
Okay.
2023.
Well, reporting. Latest news. We just had our second ultrasound appointment. Yes, it went well. The baby was, of course, not cooperating. As the first time we did it, the baby was like, anytime they would center to get a picture, the baby would jump to a different location. And they're like, So then this time, the baby decided to crawl into a ball every time they were trying to get a picture. And then at the last second, when she was looking straight from the front, the baby very much confirmed that it's a boy.
Wow.
And the tech was like, oh.
Congratulations,
Material.
Pete. Congratulations.
That's awesome.
So that was our morning.
Dad moment.
Sorry,
All
Steph, if that wasn't supposed to be public knowledge.
Well, now the world.
I thought it was
knows, so-
hilarious.
Well, yeah. Wait. You did your gender reveal too on the Insta.
We did.
so
Oh,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
you're good.
Actually, yeah, I think we did. Well, if not, then
All right.
there it is.
Let's
We'll
get
cut
to know.
it in post, Pete. It's fine.
Let's get to know our friend Oak, shall we? You want to start us off, Pete?
Sure. So we go back, a lot of us here, all the way to the start of college in the 20th century. A long time ago.
God.
So,
Do it in a movie voice.
yeah. In a world before cell phones. So anyway, I wanted to recall a fun story. So early on in freshman year, when I was competitive in cross country and track, Oak, I made you run a couple 400-meter intervals on the track with me, and I was hitting them pretty hard then, and you did your best. After a few of those, I seem to recall you having to be carried on our friend Alan's shoulder back to the dorm like a sack of potatoes. Fast forward, though, a few as in 20 years later, and now you are an incredible super distance runner, doing these insane off-road races, trails, and even ultra marathons. What inspired you to start running like that, and what do you love so much about it that continues to drive you to commit so many hours and miles into the sport?
Yeah, it's funny that you say hours because, yeah, it's definitely hours.
Well, I've seen your Strava workout times. It's a lot of time, like a lot of time commitment.
So college was fun. There was a lot of snacks. There might have been some beer. That
An
continued.
equivalent
once-
amount of booze.
Yes. So that behavior continued, and apparently the metabolism did not. So at some point, i.e., not long after my son was born, I kind of got the idea of maybe I need to do something. But before that, IBM, where my wife worked at the time, started some of those fitness incentives. So they were giving like
Ooh.
Fitbits to everybody.
Okay.
And being like data centric, it was like, ooh, how many steps? So eventually
Yeah.
I got a Fitbit, and it was like very much like, oh, like how many steps can I get in a day? Like how exciting, is it for me, and what other metrics and stuff. And walking slowly became running because I was like, hey, I can go the same distance just a little faster, and then
Yep.
it's done. And then I stupidly decided to start going further and further, and that kind of negated that whole concept.
I never stopped.
I had a colleague that ran. So where I live in Raleigh, North Carolina, I'm very close to Umstead State Park. And there's actually a rather old 100-mile race that takes part in Umstead. And
Okay.
I witnessed a colleague running Umstead 100 and seeing like how drained he was and just like how done he was like at the end. It was fascinating to me. But the other thing that was interesting before the race, we were kind of at lunch, like there was like 4 or 5 of us at lunch, friends, and somebody else mentioned like, hey, this guy like runs over mountains and stuff. And that was kind of the moment where I learned that you can do things besides just hiking on trails, and that you can actually run on the trails. And it was like a legit light bulb, like light switch moment where it was like, oh, you can do that? Like it just didn't, it never appeared, to me that you could do that. And I like the outdoors, so it just kind of continued to gain traction.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I'm sure it's probably way more intense doing it there, where like I've run not too far, but like when Steph and I will hike, I've run in those trails, and it's intense. Like every step you got to watch where you're going. You got to like watch for routes. Like it feels like a video game almost.
Yeah, depending on the terrain, it can be a lot of heads down.
Yeah.
In my situation, like
Oh, yeah.
making sure you're stepping. Now, it's not like looking immediately down, but looking like 10 to 20 feet ahead of you for obstacles and what you're gonna do. But the more you do it, the more your brain kind of gets used to that processing, and it can just kind of do it more automatically.
Okay.
Yeah,
I could see that. So what's some of the longer races you did? I know there was that one New York City one that was incredible. Talk about that
about
one.
to bring that up. You bring it up through the your tour through the boroughs overnight.
Yeah. So that is the Great New York Running Exposition. So that's actually kind of like a guerrilla race. They mark and spray paint like some of the sidewalks and roads and stuff with like little yellow arrows, so you know where to turn. But ahead of time, you actually get like essentially 4 pages of instructions on like what the turns are.
Okay.
And hopefully you don't screw up. There are places like the arrows are like, because they're kind of guerrilla done, they are not very prolific. So there'll be like 3-mile stretch where it's just like a straightaway. They're like, well, we don't have to give another arrow. Like you're already going straight, like good to go.
Right. But you're kind
Does
of
anybody
wondering,
ever troll you
where's
and
the turn?
change the arrows, or like try to erase them or cover them?
Those, no, just because folks don't know what they are. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No Wile
race is
no Wile E.
amazing.
Coyote like spinning the arrow.
Do you sleep during these real long ones?
Most of them, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like most of them, when they're like 100 miles or less, you're not sleeping during them. Sometimes you will. Like sometimes you kind of need like a reboot. But most of the time, no. Sometimes I'll beg for a trail nap, and then you can't get one.
Oh no.
I've laid in like poison ivy just because I'm like, I need to lay down for a minute. And my buddy's like,
Jeez.
fine, you get 5 minutes.
Huh. Wow.
Any interest in doing the 7-continent race?
Oh, were you doing a marathon in each
You
continent?
do a marathon each continent,
I love the concept. It's just outside of my pocketbook.
yeah.
So they normally do like do a private jet, and all the participants ride in the jet. You start normally in Antarctica because that's like the hardest one to actually get good conditions for, and you begin flying the easier places.
Okay.
That sounds amazing. So
Yeah.
like, if somebody was like, "Oak, you should do this. I'll pay," I'd be like, "Hell yeah, I'm in."
So we got to get you some sponsorships for this race. That's what I'm hearing.
So anybody who's listening who has a ton of money and wants to sponsor Oak, just tell us, and we'll put it on his shirt, on his back. You can get a tattoo if you want.
Uncle Steve, who owns the Mets, right? He's
Uncle
an
Steve.
avid listener.
All right, we got to move on.
Okay.
All right, so going on to another great Oak story. Now, Oak, you had a destination wedding with your wife Carrie in the Bahamas, and this was just a fantastic trip that I still talk to this very day. What are some of your favorite memories from this trip, and when are we going to go cruising again?
Oh man, cruising, excellent idea. I totally like the idea of continuing that. So, right before the pandemic, we were planning to try to do one because Stone was finally like around the age where it would work, and then the pandemic occurred. Did one last summer, and it worked well. Like he enjoyed it, and like we still had fun. So yeah, we're game for that. The funniest moment has to be like Carrie starting the procession and then like having to pause so you and Jeffem can like run down the myriad of stairs down to the beach.
Okay,
like,
point of order.
"What's
I was
that?"
already on the beach at that time. Of course, I was in a bright red Bacardi polo shirt, but that's not a story.
Yeah, didn't I hear you recall one time where like you and Jeff like looked at each other like, oh, I think this is starting. You guys are like half a mile away.
No.
Okay. Maybe
All right. But backstory. So
weren't you at a Bacardi tasting?
we were
or
at
something
there was a
completely
Bacardi.
irresponsible?
Yes, there was a Bacardi rum factory on the other side of the island, and if everything worked fine, we would have made it back in time. But we went on the tour, tried 157 proof rum.
So you were definitely sober.
Definitely sober, and we had a couple cocktails after the tour too. We got in this taxi. If the taxi left on time, would have been fine. But the taxi the taxi driver apparently had a flat tire.
Nice.
And then it was fun to just figure out a way to get on the other side of the island, of which it happened to be that we got on this bus, and the bus wasn't going exactly where we were going, so we had to get off the bus, and we just started running towards the dock.
You guys made it happen.
They got there.
We made it to the wedding, technically.
It's like a movie.
I got to the bus just when everyone else did, but unfortunately we were about a half mile away from the dock, give or take. But Jeff left me for dead because I fell back.
That's before you were running.
Before I was running.
Oh, right.
This entire time was like, I think I just missed this wedding, so I just was like, Eeyoring back to the dock, thinking, oh my. But I happened to get to the bus. Everyone's dressed to the nines. I'm in a sweaty ass t-shirt and cargo shorts, but I happen to have this bright red polo Bacardi shirt that I just bought. So I threw it on and I hopped on the bus with everyone. And then everyone's asking me, it's like, weren't you with Jeffem? It's like, yeah. It's like, where is he? It's like, I don't know.
I was like, I think he lives in the Caribbean now. Oh my God, imagine Jeffem with a big scruffy hair and like playing a guitar on the beach.
Yeah.
Oh, it's amazing. Jeffem, do that.
Yeah.
In your time.
But Jeffem, when he happened to find the same cab driver that took Carrie to the ceremony, and the cab driver kept, because he was dressed in a tux and was like I got a groom in my back seat, and he was just honking his horn, not following any of the rules of the road.
Of course.
He gets there, and Carrie's about to walk down the stairs onto the beach, and out comes flying is Jeffem. And I think Carrie even was right, about to walk by, and she looked over. It's like, Jeffem?
Yeah, and it was something like, "Sorry, Carrie, sorry."
Yeah.
As he's running.
That tracks.
That's
many
amazing.
Stories.
Yeah.
So many good stories. That same trip, the night before we had the bachelor party, and Jeffem was drinking. I'm not putting him in the best light right now. I just realized.
Sorry,
he was
Jeffem.
drinking these Guinnesses, which sound harmless, until we realized that they were double stouts.
Oh,
Nice.
So twice as strong as a normal Guinness.
Nice.
It's
And a
like
lot of them.
8.5% right there.
Oh, that was very, very strong. Very, very strong.
He's a big boy, though. He can handle it.
He can handle it.
He didn't that day. He redecorated our bathroom.
Ooh.
Yeah. Anyway. Sorry, Masha. This is who you married. You're stuck with him.
Yeah, sorry.
All right. So before we go down that rabbit hole anymore, we're going to keep going. So the last thing from our past I wanted to talk about, there's a Northeast food tradition that Oak's obsessed with that I thought warranted some time on the show. The exciting world of mini hot dogs, was first shown to me at a place called Gus's Hot Dogs in Troy, New York, in Waterville.
That's the
But there are
place.
many different kinds in the area, and I've seen them as far east as mid to central Mass. Oh, can you explain a mini hot dog? Why it's so great, and how many different ones you've tried at this point?
Oh man, they're mystical. I have downstairs in our kitchen. There's like a pop artist that Carrie really likes. We have 2 pictures of hot dogs. The Chicago hot dog, the Troy mini hot dogs are like the 2 artist renderings that we have.
Wow.
Amazing.
So the mini hot dogs are just incredible. And you also have to remember that they make the mini buns with them.
Mhm.
So
Tiny buns.
it's not like you're getting like a mini hot dog or trying to stuff 2 mini hot dogs in like a regular full-size bun. You get a cute little bun with it. Incredible.
That's awesome.
And how many do you order at a time? Because there's a lot of people who probably don't know about this.
Oh, I would say that I eat a little bit more than most. I guess a regular person might eat like 6, but I feel like 10 mini hot dogs is probably like a good
And
start.
how do you order them?
Oh, mustard,
'cause they're
onion,
not.
chili.
Yeah, exactly.
Chili.
They're not just ordinary hot dogs.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, no.
So you can get them with the works. You can get them with piled with stuff, and the chili's the best. So you get them with mustard and onions and chili all on top, and you kind of like eat them and try to get as much of the chili in as you can, and the rest just falls. It's an experience.
It's experience.
So they're so glorious. It's one of those. It's also hard to haven't been able to really reproduce the sauce real well at home.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Hot Dog Charlie's, you can get jars of it. So anytime
That's
I
true.
visit, I normally come back with a jar or 2.
Hot Dog Charlie's is an actual mini hot dog chain in the area, and then there's one in Mass that I don't remember.
There was years ago, probably like, was it 10 years ago? There was somebody from the region that ran a hot dog truck in Myrtle Beach. And they would order mini hot dogs. I can't remember who they came from, but they'd get buns and hot dogs shipped down, and you could get them like Myrtle Beach. They were good.
Hmm.
Nice.
Yes.
I could go for a hot dog right now.
I love
Yeah.
Hot Dog
Now I'm
Charlie's.
hungry, and I
It's-
just ate a bunch of soup.
It's such a whole, and you eat 8 mini hot dogs, and then everything's better.
Absolutely.
I've gotten them in a tux. I've gotten them in jeans. You know, like it. Always up for Hot Dog Charlie's or Gus's.
Or Gus's. Yeah. When was the last time you were at Gus's? Do you remember?
The second to last time I was up because I had to
Arm-
take the family there. Yeah.
Nice.
Sorry,
Gus
guys.
is still
I just
open.
went black for a second.
I remember the first time at Gus's, I'm like, Oak's like, look at the grill. I'm like, I don't want to. He's like, do it. I'm like, okay.
Gus is not a sponsor.
But you could be.
But you could
Local
be.
podcast looking for
Yep.
sponsors.
Man.
I think it's good.
Yeah.
Move on.
All right. Are we ready to get going, everyone?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So, baseball is all about numbers, and there are so many more significant than others. I'm sorry, there are some that are more significant than others. One of the hardest numbers in the sport is a batting average of 400. That means getting a hit in 2 out of every 5 at bats. Doesn't sound so hard, right? Except that it hasn't been done since 1941 when Ted Williams hit 406. The closest anyone has ever gotten was Tony Gwynn in the strike-shortened season in 1994. So, everyone, is it too soon to start talking about Luis Arias batting 400? And if not, do we think he can actually do it? And I guess I should have mentioned this. Luis Arias is a batter for the Miami Marlins right now, and he is teetering around 400 right now.
396.
Oof.
I mean, the Marlins are very bad, though, Mark.
They're not very bad.
I mean, they're pretty bad.
Well, how many games
They're
in are
okay.
we right now with the season?
It's
It's
about
about
halfway through the
halfway.
season.
Okay, 'cause yeah,
The
I was gonna
All-Star
say
game
like we're
is
still
in July.
early summer. Like we got a ways to go. I don't know. Is he trending better as the season goes on, or worse, or has it been pretty even?
He's been teetering around the 400 number now for a couple months.
Well, the really interesting part about this stat for anybody who doesn't know is that he is literally 0.06 of a percentage point above the next guy. So he's at 392, and Ronald Acuna on Atlanta is 331, which is a lot, really, when you think
a
about
lot.
it.
Yeah, point oh yeah,
It's
0.6.
almost
I
a
think he
full
said
0.1
0.06.
percentage point.
Holy
Yeah.
shit.
Well, yes. Oh, so in baseball terms, that's 60 points. But yeah, no, John's still right.
Yeah, yeah.
In talking in terms of numbers.
I got you.
Right. Well,
No, I
because
gotcha.
you never hit every time, right? So
No.
a third is good. More than a third is very good. So
Interesting thought too. So Ted Williams in 1941. He while he finished at 406, the last day of that season, he had a doubleheader, and he was actually batting below 400. So I believe I don't specifically remember how many hits he got, and it was a doubleheader at the last day of the season. Like I don't know if I said that,
Yes.
but he got enough hits to finish the season at 406.
Man,
Because he's that good of a ball player.
Wow, he has 114 hits already.
Yeah.
Arraez. That's crazy.
Now this is obviously a career year for him so far. The highest that he's gone before was actually his very first year. He batted 334. And last year he batted 316. But now with the whole changing with like no defensive shifts anymore and the pitch clock and like this must be helping him, right, John?
I mean, I think so. I think that it is a batter's year. I think that it is a scoring year and a runner's year.
Up.
And I mean, I think that we're going to see these things kind of throughout. Stolen bases are up, runs are up, home runs are high. I mean, like Ohtani has 29 home runs? Something like that.
Something like that.
I feel like people are going to actually like probably note that the pitch clock is something like the super shoes in the marathon, where it's kind of like a large shift.
Yeah, it is functional. And we've been talking about it on the show, but they limited the number of times you can throw to first base now. So that's why steals are up. To try to make baseball go faster and be more exciting. You know, that's I think the bottom line, and I think it is. I think they did a good job. I know a lot of people who are watching more baseball this year because it goes faster and is more exciting. So.
When you have a player too approaching that milestone, which would this be the first time that's happened since the 40s, since that season?
Since 1941.
Wow.
So I'm glad you mentioned that now. So here's the last. Let's see the sixth highest I have. So Tony Gwynn, as I mentioned, in 1994 was finished at 394. George Brett in 1980 finished at 380. I'm sorry, 390.
Okay.
And these are, by the way, all Hall of Fame baseball players.
Well, I would
Ted Williams had actually another battle with it in 1957. He finished at 388. Rod Carew finished at 388 in 1977. And as early as 1999, Larry Walker finished at 379. John, you remember Larry Walker, right? For the Rockies?
Mm-hmm. I like Larry Walker. Actually, I like the Rockies that year, too.
How good would it be for the sport if, like, this guy's
be amazing for the
really
sport.
Close and down the home stretch of the season, like you'd get so many more viewers.
Batting average is really not
just
that
to see if
exciting,
you would do it.
Well,
this one doesn't really lend to it.
This one
But
is
it's like one of those big
again,
milestone things, though.
It has, this hasn't happened in over 80 years.
Kun is also a
break
leadoff
for
batter, which I think, and he's fast, which I think is helping.
Okay, that's all part of it, right?
I mean, yes, but also you're not. So his job in the lineup is to get on base so he can score.
Yeah.
And so he's not an RBI leader. He's not even close to RBIs.
And he's not on a very good team.
He's not on a very good team. He's not a run leader. The Marlins probably won't make the playoffs. I mean, it's just like...
But this would be a story. This would be a story.
Sure, but it would be better if he was a Yankee or
of course
you would say that.
Or a Red Sox or an Astro or someone who somebody cared about.
Mm-hmm.
But no one watches baseball in Miami. That's a hot take, by the way.
It would become
for that one.
I think it would
There
become
it
a
is.
nationwide story, though. And if he were to actually come close to 400, like it would get national broadcast. They might be facing the Oakland Athletics, but if he could potentially get 400, it would become a huge talk within
I don't think it's gonna make
the
it.
nation.
81 games left, and he's a Marlin. And we got to move on.
So do you think he's gonna do it?
No.
I'm going to say
Pete,
yes.
John, Peter Oak, do you guys have an opinion on whether or not he could do it?
It's a long time to keep it
Hasn't
going.
been done in 80 years. Yeah,
A lot of games.
Yeah.
it's a lot of games.
Yep. And I mean, people just aren't going to pitch to him.
I'm going to believe.
Why do they have to pitch to him?
Because they have to for history.
Anyway.
Moving on.
Do you want to do a next topic, or do you want to? Do you know about our next topics?
I have a specific one off the top of my head right this moment. But
Yes.
I'll be able to do one in a bit.
All right. That's okay. We're going to use the soundboard, but you remember, and we're going to do my favorite.
Hey, baby. Do you want a next topic?
Yes. So, I thought that because Oak is such a runner, we'd have a running question. And so, NCAA 5,000 meter champion Parker Valby of the Florida Gators signed a historic name, image, likeness deal this week with Nike. Valby will be the first female track and field star to be sponsored by a major brand. She stated that she is excited to be able to make an income while still being able to represent her school and participate in college athletics. Reports say that her deal could be worth anywhere from $50,000 to $150,000. And so, what does Valby's deal say for name, image, likeness's future in college sports? With time commitment being so high, as well as them still being students, is the ability to focus on athletics going to bring better, more successful athletes across the NCAA?
So potentially, right? Because there's all these athletes that probably won't make a lot of money in the pros, but they have an opportunity to make a lot of money in college, especially with name, image, and likeness. If you have a following, like we've seen with some other college athletes, then people will put money in you. Now, you said 50 to 150,000?
That's what is being reported as, yes.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, that's nothing compared to football
Right.
and basketball. But it's still a
she's
start.
Just a track star. Like, and because I don't know, Oak and Pete, how much do mid-range Olympic athletes make? Right. I mean, the goal probably would be.
There's
to
a
run
world.
competitively.
There's a global professional track and field circuit. Like,
How much do they make?
they're career athletes in that area. I was hoping Oak would know this.
The other part, like the other thing to think about here is 5K is kind of like a stepping stone for pro athletes. You do, okay? There is a level compensation for sprinters and mid-distance folks, but the big money really comes into the distance runners, and that's essentially the 5K and up.
Right.
Folks.
So this is
3K
far.
up too,
This
but-
is far, but not really terribly far. I
Yeah,
guess.
so they still call this long distance running.
Okay.
But it's I agree with Oak though. It's the longest race that still has that kind of some elements of that mid distance strategy to it, where like you have to think about kicking, you have to think about really pushing hard and not like more bursts instead of just pace. Or at least
And
I
just
do.
for perspective for the listeners, how many laps is that on a college track?
Oh god.
Estimate.
It's 12.
12.
12
Yeah.
laps.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Cool.
yeah, 400. Yeah.
The deal is where the thrust I was going was if you go pro or you're performing at the high elite practice of 5K, that's the beginning of your career. So you'll start in 5K. As you begin to peter out your competitiveness, you'll work into 10K, half marathon, and eventually marathon. That progression could be 10 to 15 years depending on how well you do in the lower distances.
I didn't realize
So-
it could take that long.
Yeah, because a lot, like if they're really good at the 5K,
And they stay at that distance. Yeah.
yeah, they try to keep that domination because it's between the 5 and 10K, it's like a huge jump.
It's a huge difference.
It's like a difference in strategy, like how the whole run goes. 10K to half marathon is fairly similar, even though you're again doubling the distance. And then between the half and the marathon, from the elite perspective, it's a pretty big jump.
It's a world, yeah. Look, it's like human
Can
body.
I tell you?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go.
Oh, I was gonna say like, and I mean, Oak, you can clarify this. Going 15 miles is something most people can do without. Okay, someone in good shape already could do without too much preparation and training. There's kind of a wall beyond that where you really have to prepare to go past that, and that's just past that half marathon marker. So to go beyond that is like a whole other world. At least it seems that way.
To me, that's more conjecture.
Okay.
To do it well, it's a whole lot more training.
Okay.
You make it past there, yeah.
Do the competitive women run as far?
Same distances, yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
So once we get to the set distances, there's no difference like in cross country where they're like, "Hey, ladies, you're gonna do 4K instead of 5K,
Okay.
6K instead of 8K kind of
There's
deal."
none of that.
It's all the same distance.
Cool. That's awesome. I just don't know. I thought it was an interesting question though, and what I really liked about the idea of it is it's a C-list sport, right? And so Nike is investing in a woman in the NCAA college scene and a track and field athlete, which I think is awesome.
That's
and
super
like
cool.
really kind of opens up the possibilities for name image likeness, because like to be a student in the University of Florida, hard, right? And to be a professional athlete as well, I mean, you don't have time to work. And so to take that really seriously, you almost need to get paid. So the fact that they can get paid now, I think is pretty cool.
The thing I kind of worry about, like, I think it's overall like a great thing. I just wonder about how much of the compensation ends up getting tied to stuff like having Instagram followers.
And it does. It does. And we talk about
like
the
a big
Cavender
social media.
We talk about the Cavender twins a lot, who are, one of them is a good basketball player, one of them is a bad basketball player, but they're both very internet famous, right? And they both made the team because they're like a package, right? They're the Cavender twins. That's their social media. The other thing I think that is concerning is that NCAA teams can now be good if they're bigger colleges and they have more money.
Oh,
period.
yeah.
What's cool about this deal, too, is that it's one of the first brands that have signed on to name image likeness. A lot of the name image likeness deals come from backer groups, especially the football ones.
And I applaud Nike for doing something like this. And you know, from a business perspective, too, $50,000 to $150,000 is really not that much of an investment in something. And they're taking a chance on this, and it could potentially be very good for them.
I think so, too.
Yeah. I applaud Nike for doing something like that, and I really hope it blows up and it does some good.
We're out of time. And that was a good end anyway.
Who's got next topic?
Very cool.
Pete always has the best next topics.
I don't know, man. You caught me in a rare moment of blank-headedness.
Rare moment of blank-headedness.
It's not what I remember from college.
No.
Parker Valby, by the way, only has 34,000 followers only.
Way.
We'll
All
just
right,
do
I got
it. All right, you got it. I was going to do a...
No, let's do this.
do
Rolling,
it.
rolling. Keep that next topic rolling. I don't know. Let's go.
We do have that one, but that was excellent.
Yeah. Sorry, I've been watching way too much Yellowstone lately, so...
I guess so. All right. So the Men's College World Series just ended with LSU winning its 7th national title, but my eyes were drawn to University of Florida player Jack Caglianone. Oh, that's an Italian last name.
You
I
just
think I
lost
screwed
your
up.
Italian card.
He finished the year hitting .326 with 33 home runs, but also pitched with a .368 ERA and held opposing hitters to a .186 average. He was also named the Division I National Player of the Year. Now, Caglianone is drawing obvious comparisons to the MVP favorite Shohei Ohtani, and baseball is always looking for the next big thing. So, everyone, is Shohei Ohtani going to be the new archetype for today's MLB player? More and more two-way players are popping up.
I mean, I think that it is a similar conversation to the running quarterback that we keep talking about.
Very similar.
Right?
Yeah, it's one of those X factors that's like suddenly it's a must-have.
Right? It's a gimmick until it's not. And then if everyone can hit and pitch, then you have to hit and pitch.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And they're all strong. They all know how baseball works. I mean, pitching is essentially core strength. They all have a ton of core strength. I mean, so theoretically they all could pitch, right? They just have to practice. And so I think especially college athletes have a one up on this because they have to sometimes do things because the teams are smaller. So like...
True, but by the time you get to college, if you're a pitcher, you are a pitcher. You don't have to hit anymore. Like college teams have a DH, and they've always had a DH. But there are more and more that are doing both. And that does save a roster spot if you do that.
Yeah, if you can do it, why not? Develop. And you're
that is actually really an interesting question. Shohei Ohtani only takes one roster spot.
Right.
So he can and he does cover two sets of positions when he's not pitching, he hits. And so it is an efficient way to play baseball. If everybody can Ironman baseball, then you need a lot less players and you can have a lot more, right?
But there haven't been many really quality two-way players in a long time. Like Really, really, the last one that did it, Babe Ruth,
Huh.
back in the early 20th century, like 1918.
Back there in the early 1920s.
Pete,
It's been like 100 years.
Pete, I love your old timey voice. Do it again.
Yes, there was a time then when baseball players could do both hitting and pitching. See? Sorry.
So funny.
But
It's
even
literally
Babe
my
Ruth,
favorite.
even Babe Ruth stopped doing two-way after a while, and he just became a hitter.
Yeah, so that's where I was going to say. Like, just because this guy's having success at the college level, like, means nothing for continuing to be
Absolutely.
two-way player.
Right.
And we're talking MLB.
And just like you said, the running quarterback, they have a shelf life, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many running quarterbacks have had long careers?
I mean,
Randall
exactly.
Cunningham. Going back. Maybe not. I forget how long he played. But
I think he played like 10 years.
yeah, I see what you mean though.
Yeah,
like,
but that's
if-
one.
Right, I know. Yeah. If he makes it to the MLB and does this, it opens a huge floodgate. You're going to suddenly, every kid growing to play baseball is going to try to become a two-way player because it's going to be this.
Well, there's
cool
lots
new
of high
thing.
schoolers that are doing it now too. Like,
Yeah.
well,
I
now
mean, you'll see it even
to
more,
be
but
fair,
Obviously,
that's been going on for a little while.
okay. But I mean-
Caglianone, by the way. Mark.
Caglianone, thank you.
So, I mean,
I was
it's-
doing it right in rehearsing.
right. I mean, like the vast majority of those will not continue all the way, even to college.
I
to
mean,
be
even the
able to
vast
pull that
majority
off,
of college
but-
players don't make the MLB.
Right. So yeah, no,
It's
that's
really
a
hard
good point
to be a
though. It's
professional
like,
baseball player, honestly.
yeah, it makes
Even
it
the
less
really, really
exciting until he can actually prove it in the pros.
Yeah, even the really, really talented ones struggle. They just do.
The next best two-way player is probably Anthony Gose, who plays for the Guardians in Cleveland.
Mhm.
And let me see if he tossed 27 2/3 innings back in 2021. Oh, I'm sorry, over the past couple years. So he had Tommy John surgery late last year too. So,
That's
I mean, you're putting your body through. I mean, so pitching a ball at like 99 miles an hour is not a natural motion either. So you're putting your body with so much strain, and then you're also trying to smack a ball 400 feet. I mean,
Unless your form's perfect.
yeah. So
how many
we'll see,
people
right?
have perfect form? He can still.
We'll see.
Mariano Rivera did.
People are definitely going to start looking for more of these two-way players, all right?
I
Do
sure
we
see
all
why they
kind of
wouldn't.
agree with that?
I don't
Yeah.
see why they wouldn't.
Well,
A
yeah. I think the
completely
interest is
reasonable,
gonna keep,
efficient way to play baseball.
Mhm.
It's good marketability.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
And Shohei Ohtani, well, now granted, he's on a large market team in Los Angeles, but he's getting national buzz because of what he can do.
Mhm. For sure.
Los Angeles isn't Anaheim. You crazy man.
Close enough.
Anaheim is like a medium
I group all of
market.
Southern California together for some reason.
Huh.
Yeah.
Technically, they are the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Is that what they're called?
Another
Mm.
monster. Side note: he only has 2 more home runs than Medelson, but he is leading league in home runs because Judge has been hurt for a month.
Mm.
Aw, sad
Sad
panda.
Yeah, it's very sad panda. Much.
There it is.
God, I love this soundboard. You want to hear my favorite? You want to hear my 2 favorite soundboards? This one is my first favorite.
Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen.
It's my first one.
He's a
That's my
goalie
second
on the
favorite.
Sabres.
My second favorite is this one.
That is a true fact.
That's my second favorite. I think that might be my first favorite, actually.
That's the best. That one's the best one.
No, I like the Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. never gonna forget that name. Now.
No, it's in your head now.
Oak, do you know who that is, or do you have an idea of who that might be?
They don't.
He's a mediocre. Sorry, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. A mediocre starting
he's
goalie in
mediocre.
the league. Honestly, even kind of low to mediocre. Oh, poor guy.
He just has a cool name.
I really wanted him to be good so I can get his jersey for that name alone.
Is he a Saber?
Yeah. But no, they have a better guy now, Devin Levi, who played like lights out. His first
they
2
have to
games, he had
freaking
like
Levi.
Devin Levi. Yeah, so his first 2 games, he had like a 9.46 save percentage. So he became Devin freaking Levi, like right off the bat.
Pete, you should be a Sabres announcer.
I'm team.
I don't know.
I mean, you're a professional journalist and everything, so.
right.
Why not?
Yeah. No.
We're out of time. That was an interesting topic. I had to fight with a timer. I don't like fighting with the timer.
I like that it devolved into weird hockey stuff.
Everything devolves into Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. And so I wanted to continue on the NCAA questions. So Nick Saban praised Texas football after the Longhorns pushed Alabama to its limit last September. A month later, Texas remained on Saban's brain. He states, the way Southern Cal, Texas, and Texas A&M are spending money, Alabama can't afford to spend like Texas. Almost no school can. For perspective, Alabama probably the best NCAA football program in the country right now. So how has the fiscal position of an NCAA athletic program become the main focus of whether or not a team is good? And is this what we can look forward to in the name, image, and likeness era?
I mean, yeah, some schools have now become, the Yankees and the Red Sox of college football, right? They're spending lots and lots of money. Now, you still need to have a good coach to go along with the good players. And Texas has, while the coaching staff has always been able to get paid, and Texas has given out a lot of money for their coaches in the past, they haven't really hit a home run with any of their coaches. Now, Nick Saban, to be fair, like he's crying a lot with this whole name, image, and likeness thing because he used to be the best recruiter in all of college football.
Well, it's because essentially Nick Saban.
Yeah, exactly. He all he had to do was, my name is Nick Saban. I'll win you a championship and get you to the NFL.
Right. Now
kids
are like, I just want money.
Exactly. All these other people are just dangling money right in front of them, and I mean, what like 18-year-old is going to give that up, right?
Well, and the reason I asked the question second, and the reason I'm thinking about it is why shouldn't they, right?
I mean,
on
very
a
true.
limited career.
That is a truth
from
fact.
Yes, it is. From a limited talent base that you could get hurt literally any minute of any day. Make your nest egg. Be social media famous. Like, become something while you're something. I don't know. It seems like a catch-22 though, because college athletics aren't really supposed to be about who has the biggest roster. Biggest, highest paid roster. But it's gonna, because schools like Texas can just throw money, man. They just like literally just burn it. Southern Cal, Texas, all those big schools with big student bodies with big tuitions, they can just say whatever they want.
Yeah, that's a tough call. I was kind of going over it in my head, like if they make millions of dollars even in the beginning, but then they're in a small school that doesn't do well, maybe they wouldn't get the recognition. But in this era, you have your scouting reach and capability is so much better that maybe it wouldn't even matter. So then it's like almost a no-brainer. Just take the money. It's like, as long as you play, I mean, you still have to play well, but if you weren't playing well, what is the money going to matter? Because you wouldn't make it to the NFL either way. So like the money does matter. Go for the money. Like, I don't know.
I feel like this is going to help folks that are not the top tier. They're like the near elite, the near NFL, or they're kind of like on that bubble where they can make an income that's like a known amount versus going to the show and then flaming out.
So what you mentioning that just makes me think of Johnny Manziel. He was nicknamed Johnny Football when he was in college.
Poor Johnny Football.
Now, name, image, and likeness wasn't a thing when he was in college, but imagine if it was. He was a phenomenon. He was a phenomenon in college, and his nickname was Johnny Football.
Yeah, he would have made
Everyone
more money.
thought he was going to do well.
Yeah.
But people would have paid him to do anything in college. And now he can't even make a CFL team right now.
No, he would have made way more money in his 4 years in college than he would have in his rookie contract. Even being drafted high, was he like 14th overall or something, or higher than that even?
I think he was 14th.
He was
and he was drafted by the Browns.
By the Browns.
That was his first downfall. He was drafted by the Browns.
Yeah.
Sorry, Cleveland.
Browns don't make great decisions.
But I mean, what else? Like, so think about all these other athletes that got busted for, getting paid under the table or something like that, like Reggie Bush.
Oh yeah.
He had to give up his Heisman Trophy.
Yeah, which is a shame because it's like, he's first ballot Hall of Famer, like, or no. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of the wrong Reggie. I'm thinking of Reggie White. That's way different. Reggie Bush.
Reggie Bush. Yeah,
yes,
he won a Heisman while he was at USC. he had an okay
Still
NFL
a
career.
good player, I think. Not a
But
great
he had
player,
to give
but
up
a
his
good
Heisman
player.
Trophy. But now, you know, it doesn't mean anything. Kids can make as much money as they want,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, you think
But
about
now
it,
he's
though,
making
right?
a lot of money for Wendy's. I think he's got a Wendy's endorsement.
Really?
So.
It's true. He also like got arrested and got into a big car accident.
Yeah.
And got fired. I mean, like his life was bad for a while.
I
So
think
to
he
wrap
was
this
on-
around, and just to think about it, the Clemson Tigers last year they spent $3.1 million. The Clemson Tigers they finished 8-0 in conference and 11-3 overall. I don't remember their bowl finishes, but they literally outspent the next highest program, which was the North Carolina, by almost $2 million.
I mean, yeah,
Damn.
we're definitely going to see a lot more of that. I mean, that the big thing back, especially in the southeastern part of the country, was we're really good at college football. But now, if schools like Texas and USC can just we'll pay you
It's
money.
gonna outspend everybody. Yeah.
So I want to go like a more running thing. Like, since you guys are more focused towards like what you might see within ESPN and stuff, I'm kind of curious, like what world records you guys actually see, like the running perspective. Because in the last 2 weeks, there was actually a new world record for like the 2 mile.
Ooh.
And the reason why I bring that up is the running perspective, like the running world right now is constantly talking about the Norwegian method and like, how that's going to impact running. And
Explain the
guys
Norwegian
even-
method to
Yeah.
people, please.
So my understanding of it, and I have limited knowledge on it, but let me back up and explain running real quick. So, okay, so there's like easy running, then there's slightly harder running, then there's between the slightly harder running and the really hard running, there's this beautiful threshold area. And Norwegians have basically figured out that they're actually doing like lab tests, like on the fly, to see how much. Okay, so might have heard of like lactate.
Yep.
Basically, as your metabolic process, lactate is used actually for giving you energy, but there's a finite amount in your body. It's got to cycle through. If you generate it too fast, you essentially flame out. If you generate just below that amount, your body can constantly cycle it fast enough and you can run really fast. So the Norwegian method is basically testing their folks and getting them right to that top part of that threshold and keeping it there and actually doing a lot of running right at that level. So that they're not going over the lactate threshold, essentially.
I hear it has a lot to do with your stride. Like that's what I
mean-
kind of learned about the Norwegian method. Like, because when I run or when I think of running, I think of a nice long stride. I've been pounding
Stride is
pavement for.
bogus. Stride is 100%.
I think you're right. I don't know.
Because-
I've been pounding pavement for 12 years now. So
you can look at some of the world record holders, and they have like the gawkiest, oddest stride that it doesn't look normal, but those people are running like incredible world records. Then you'll see someone that has like the perfect stride, and they'll get smoked by that person. Now, there are people that have like the perfect stride and do really well. Yes, but it's kind of like the two-way players where, yeah, there's some of those folks. It's not the rule necessarily.
Yeah, it got cold, so I can come down and get more later.
I did
Yeah.
have to change. I had to change my stride last year because
No, I'm good.
so I
until
was
the end
I
of
was
the
training
show.
for a half marathon, and
Could you say
unfortunately
something
I've
for me?
been
'Cause
I
I'll have
finally
some as soon as the
my
show's done
knees have
recording.
caught up to me. So I started having some issues with my right knee. I saw a physical therapist about it, and he told me to that my stride was probably was hurting it. He wanted to do like a whole analysis of my run, and he's probably right. I think I land a little bit harder on my right leg than I do my left leg, and that's the knee that's not so good. So he actually he told me to take shorter strides to help with the knee. When it came to the point where I had to run the half marathon, even that started to hurt. So the only way I could get through it was I ran flat-footed.
Oof.
You said that
gets
happened
you
during a race,
through.
right?
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be rough.
It was a hard 13.1 miles.
I was going to say, didn't you say on the show that you had to finish a race that way because you?
Well, no, I pretty much the half marathon I ran last year. I ran the whole thing flat-footed, and it was the most awkward thing I've ever done in my entire life.
You got
well,
through it,
running wise, and I think I actually ran the first 12 miles, and then I felt a twinge, and I had to walk a little bit, but I did run most of it. But very awkward to just change your stride after you've been running a certain way for 10 years, 10, 11 years.
Biggest thing is a lot of people overstride,
Mm-hmm.
and it puts you in such a bad place. And the easiest way to think about overstriding is if you're running downhill.
Yes.
Like people get
Oh,
excited,
yeah.
they're running real fast, and they're doing turnover, but they're still like stretching out really far, and that's
how I
a
was
lot of
taught to
time.
run downhill.
Mm.
It's fun.
Yeah,
It's fun.
You go really fast, that's for sure.
Like that's why like a lot of folks, and Pete, you probably remember taking your shoes off and doing strides in the grass, just like barefoot.
Yeah, feels great.
That helps you get biomechanically back to like what you're naturally at versus like a shoe offsetting you.
Right. I always actually felt my fastest in like a nice soft field that you can just go barefoot and just sprint. There's nothing better than that.
Oh, thanks for the bonus topic.
Yeah,
by the way.
that is pretty cool.
Bonus time.
I was gonna say I was kind of related to this, and like what was the record for the 2 mile?
I think it's 7:54.
Holy shit! So there was a recent video that I watched where they're talking about like literally human being thresholds for certain distances, and I wish I remembered what it was, but basically like they use an equation based on a lot of things where like it's almost like an asymptotic time that we will just keep getting closer and closer to, but no one can physically possibly ever break it unless like human beings are a foot and a half taller and just change their evolutionary structure over time. Yes.
Can I go with one more topic?
I think it was the 340 mile was the hard limit.
All right. So I'd love to hear your feelings on this concept of this enhanced Olympics they're beginning to tout.
So what is that?
I'm not aware of an enhanced Olympic. Explain what that means.
Oh, so
is that when everyone's on drugs?
Go pod up and let's see what the hell we can do. So like one of the YouTube videos I saw was basically like they didn't show who it was, but it was I can beat Usain Bolt. I'm also drugged out the gills.
Okay.
One of the things I heard was, so what's the difference between that and the Olympics? It's already drugged.
Yeah.
So is that just steroids or is that other?
Yeah.
Is there a steroid limit?
No,
not positive on
doping.
That one. Yeah.
Doping
so weed is considered technically a PED.
Yes.
So,
there was a track and field athlete for the U.S. team that got.
Did they take Shaun White's gold medal away a bunch of years ago in the Winter Olympics, and he was like,
I think they did. Yeah.
Listen, I'm always high.
Yeah. I forget. Was that Sheree Richardson or was that another? It was a really good female track star that couldn't
I can't
compete.
remember what her name was now.
She was suspended in the.
It was a family member that just died or something like that.
Yeah.
Like that was one reason why she did it.
Right, to cope with
help
it.
her get over that. Yeah.
And it wasn't even
on
that
the
much.
other side, we had Houlihan, who was trying to say that like it was from a pork burrito that she was getting like the extra testosterone. So yeah, you just never know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an interesting concept, right? It's let's put all the cheaters together and see what can happen. I mean, but that's kind of like, we have zero disregard for human life because we're gonna give them all drugs, right?
At that point, then it's gonna be like, oh, okay, well, these guys are all drugs, so what can I do to one up this? I have robot legs now. It's like, where does it stop?
I remember when I worked at the liquor store, there was a comic. I forget what the comic was, but it was a It was about like this guy who was like now a sportscaster, and that he used to be an athlete, and they were poking fun at baseball. It's like, what if everyone was on steroids? And they said like, oh yeah, he broke the record of 170 home runs in 1 month today.
I want a body armor steroids mandatory football league
Oh yeah, with spikes on the shoulder pads.
with spikes on the shoulder pads.
Right.
It seems legit, right?
Yeah. Actually,
I
they would
don't
all
see
just look
anything
like
wrong with
the Fox News or the Fox NFL robot that's in all the advertisements for the football games. There you go.
Does he have a name?
I don't know, Fox football robot
Fox robot guy.
Yeah.
Fox? No, like I was watching.
know.
I remember watching the NFL on Fox, and they had a name for the robot. If anyone knows what the name of the Fox robot is, we'd love to hear that.
Yes.
Also, should we be playing Blurns Ball in real life? Yes or no?
Blurs. Oh, Futurama. I don't know if the human race is ready for that yet.
And I'm very excited for Futurama to come back in 1 month on Hulu.
Yeah.
Not a sponsor.
What platform is it going to be on?
It's gonna be on Hulu.
Gonna be on
Hulu's
Hulu.
buying all the best animated stuff
Nice.
because people
Ooh.
really watched Animaniacs.
Cletus. Cletus is the name of the robot.
Lead.
Thank you, Cletus. Yes.
Amazing.
Cletus?
There's
Come
Cletus the
on,
football
Fox.
robot.
Get better at naming stuff.
know.
God. Naming stuff.
That's incredible.
You should get that naming stuff job at Fox. I think it might be easy. It's awesome.
All right, we ready?
Yes.
Yes.
Hello.
Let's do it.
My name
Oh,
is
that
next-
actually works out
Ooh,
really well
okay.
because I didn't really like my third topic.
Oh, well, there you go.
Go ahead, Pete. Sorry.
Hello.
No, I like what you're doing.
My name is the next topic. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Yes.
So if you have type 2 diabetes, then you may be familiar with the drug, oh my god, semaglutide, which is
Say
the
it again,
active...
Mark.
Oh my god. Again, I rehearse these and then I read them out loud and I can't. Semaglutide, which
That
is
was
the
better.
active... I don't know if that's right. Which is the active ingredient in Ozempic. However, this has made headlines recently because the manufacturer Novo Nordisk is trying to turn this into a pill and get fully approved for weight loss by the FDA as early as this year. Now, if they do get approval, this wouldn't be the first time a pharmaceutical company stumbled upon a gold mine, as Pfizer originally tried Viagra to treat hypertension and angina pectoris, which is a cardiovascular disease. So, everyone, what are our thoughts?
Sear angina.
What are our thoughts on using Ozempic for weight loss and becoming a pill?
I mean, Big Pharma's always trying to make a bunch of money on stuff that they
Mhm.
stumble into. It's just, I think the problem with a lot of stuff like that is they don't think about the human response first. They think about the money first. I mean, a weight loss pill that
Well,
works.
this has gone through trials and it's in phase 3 right now, it's the end of phase 3 as well. So this isn't something that they just like, oh, well, it has this side effect. Oh, well, let's put it to market for that. They actually have gone through trials.
Listen, sometimes it's okay to shit your pants, and I guess if you lose weight, it's okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think as long
No,
as it,
everybody's going to be like jumping on this. Everybody likes to do
absolutely.
things
The next
easy
diet fad,
way.
right?
Of
The next
course.
diet fad.
that goes into what I was thinking too. It's like you have to have this with the caveat that it's like your number of pounds that you weigh is not a direct indicator of how healthy you are. And I feel like way too many people equate those two things way too literally.
So that was actually a good one to bring up, Pete, because it was just this month that the AMA just came up with talking about removing BMI as a health indicator, I believe.
Really?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's not accurate if like
Kind
pro
of
athletes
a
have a
bullshit
really
health
high
indicator.
BMI, and it's because it's all muscle weight.
Would it get replaced with something else?
I didn't see that, but it's one of those like it goes from like something that like sort of be used as like a rule of thumb to like, oh no, you're not in this threshold. Like,
Yeah.
Mark, we need to talk. You know,
Well, the whole things of how much you're supposed to weigh at whatever height too also has to change. Like,
Yeah.
according to my doctor, I'm like 40 pounds overweight. Like, I think I'm
Jeez.
supposed to weigh 144 or something like that.
You'd be a
I
stick.
think also with some of our friends having diabetes, having diabetes drugs being taken by people as like kind of a
Yes.
like a white collar drug. I mean, there's
Yeah.
Wegovy and Ozempic shortages now for people who actually need them for their diabetes that could kill them, for upper middle class people who are too busy to go on a diet and take a run.
You just don't want to stop eating like that portion of donuts.
Right. They're like,
Right.
but donuts are so good. Can I just take
forbidden
a pill
donut.
to get rid of the donut? Forbidden donut. Does it come with sprinkles?
Yes.
Yes, but the sprinkles are cursed.
So this is why I go by this philosophy, which I know it's backwards for the viewers. I'm sorry. I'll figure that out in the future. But it
Pete,
says
it's not backwards for me, man.
no. Oh, right. Well, but it will be for you.
It will
for
be.
YouTube,
It is
yeah.
on the YouTube.
Unfortunately, but it just says run all the miles, eat all the tacos, and I don't know of a shirt that says take an Ozempic pill, eat all the tacos,
Or just eat all the tacos.
or just eat all the tacos. I mean, there's probably that shirt.
I like tacos.
There probably is.
Yeah,
There
it's
probably
going to
is.
be like, here's your statin, here's your Ozempic, and we'll see in a few months and see how things are going.
Right.
So you guys remember a few years ago the whole thing, and maybe more than a few years ago, ephedra? Like that was like the new
I
diet
remember the
fad.
name of it, yeah.
And so people's like, oh yeah, I can, because it was like raising your body temperature or something like that. And
It was
and
increasing your metabolic rate, yeah.
it was increasing your metabolic rate. Too bad it was also potentially causing heart attacks and whatnot, but that's another story. But I look great.
Yeah. Right.
You do look great, Mark.
Thanks, John. Right back at
Amazing.
you. I never took ephedra
I'll tell you.
or ephedrine or whatever it's
I
called.
am on a reasonably aggressive diet since February. I've lost 25 pounds. And
Yeah, congratulations, by the way.
Mostly not eating like an asshole. A, drinking a shitload of water. B, and not eating like an asshole. C. I mean, like, really. I mean, I walk three times a week, a little over a mile, but I'm trying. Oak and Pete and Mark remember when I tried running like 5 years ago, and I blew my knee out and my ankle, and I was a big old mess because I was a almost 40-year-old fat guy who tried to run and was like, nope, that doesn't work. And so I'm building back up to that, but I think the first step is to get to a weight that is more natural for my body, right? I think, and you guys can probably relate, turning 40 is hard. I think it's the first time that, at least for me, like things like my testosterone has really felt affected, and like I feel old sometimes, and so I'm trying to combat that with just being healthier. And so the things where you learn when you're 20 and you can eat whatever the fuck you want, you can do whatever the fuck you want, it's over, right? You're old. I mean, you're not old, right? But you're not 20 anymore. And
Come on, John. This is
Yeah.
getting depressing.
No, but I mean, seriously though, there were many days in my mid-30s where I was like, well,
Wait.
fuck it, who cares?
Wait.
I can do whatever I want. Right.
Yeah.
And I feel better now.
No, I mean,
And I never thought I'd be someone who'd really be promoting something like that, but it's the truth.
yeah. No, I mean, feeling comfortable in your own body at a weight that you can handle, it just makes so many things easier. Like you said, if you were to start trying like couch to 5K again or that style, it'll be a lot easier when you're at a lower weight for your body type, like, you know, something reasonable.
Well, I also decided to
But that's
start
not
a
saying it's
semi-
impossible to
semi-vi-
do if you are overweight. Sorry.
I did decide to start a semi-viral podcast and join the PTA and work a bunch of overtime. So I don't really have a ton of time. I don't have a ton of time to run, but I want to.
It's all about finding something that works for you, though.
Yeah.
And as long as you prioritize it.
Definitely.
You guys want to hear some other things that have been discovered accidentally, though,
Do you
or
wanna
produced
tell us-
accidentally?
Do you want to tell us, Mark?
I
Yes.
think
Smells
the
like
number
Teflon.
one thing that most people can know is penicillin. Of course, penicillin was discovered by accident.
No, yeah.
The birth control pill, believe it or not, was kind of made by accident.
Oh, wow.
But there were some bad things too, like
Was it tested by
LSD.
accident?
What's that?
Was it tested by accident?
Was it? I don't know.
Oh,
I didn't
Oh.
quite read the. I found two sources that saw that birth control was discovered by accident. It's like I didn't really read too much into it though. LSD was discovered by accident too, believe it or not.
Whoops.
That's interesting.
What does this
Angel
do?
dust.
Whoa.
And we're at time. We can stop at LSD. I think that's perfect.
Everything stops at LSD.
All right. Let's do in the interest of time. It is time for the next topic, okay? Okay. And so, as is my job generally, I'd like to talk about AI for a little while. In 2016, an AI program called AlphaGo from Google's DeepMind AI lab made history by defeating a champion Go player. So Demis Hassibis, the co-founder and CEO of DeepMind, is now trying to use these techniques along with the new large language model techniques to create an AI called Gemini that will be more capable than OpenAI's ChatGPT. AlphaGo is based on something called reinforcement learning, in which software learns to take on tough problems that require choosing by making repeated attempts and receiving feedback on its performance. And so this is going to push us to assist in the next big step in large language models, which will be performing more actual tasks. And so for me, at least, with Bard being Google's other AI product, Bard being notably worse than ChatGPT, do you think this is Google's next attempt to break through in this brand new market? And what do we think the next step for AI and large language models will be?
Google's certainly trying, aren't they?
They really are.
So
I
I
mean-
don't think.
Go ahead, Oak.
So I don't think the actual reinforcement learning is going to be the avenue that gets like the big hits, right? It's targeting like a specific problem, and it's just iteratively working through to optimize that problem, which can be
Yes.
good.
I mean, that's
right?
why it was
For-
really good at Go.
Right, for a specific
Yeah,
problem, it's
and
great. Yeah.
Yeah, and all it's learning how to do is kill you at Go.
Right.
Can it figure out, like, say, air traffic control, like, know really well how to direct all the airplanes and stuff? Maybe
you
that's
can
something
you
where-
can fail less at traffic control than you can at Go.
Yes.
right.
Right.
Less failure.
But the generative learning is huge. Like, everything's changing. You know,
Mhm.
way we started, like, our life, it was only what, like 30, 40 years of color television before we got there.
Mhm.
Not even.
Not even. Like
Wasn't that long.
20 years of color TV before we were born.
Yeah. So you figure we had pocket computers. Now our pocket computers are going to be able to do like all sorts of figuring out for us. Like, the world's going to be a very different place.
I think so too.
It already is. Like, compared to every 10 years, it just seems like almost a different place.
I mean, if we think about large language models, ChatGPT being a really good example, as learning kind of the way we do, and the reason why they're so effective is because they literally learn by learning, which is the same. And then we take something like reinforcement learning, and maybe not specifically the AlphaGo model, right? Because you can't fail in like real life, like production learning, right? But if you take something like the reinforcement model and you kind of think about it in a human aspect, that's also what we do. And so we're building algorithms that are using high-powered computers. I mean, like, right? We all started in a world where there were no computers, and then our computers now in our pockets are more powerful than the computers we had when we were 5 and when we were 10. I mean, when we were 18, like, they're better. So you take a supercomputer that can now learn like a human. And I mean, how far away iteratively are we from an actual cyborg or like an actual AI that can move around and make decisions in the world, I guess, is my question.
I'll be
I
back.
hope a very long time.
Yes.
I don't think so. I really don't think we are.
So for the longest time, until probably 2-3 years ago, Turing test was our benchmark.
Mhm.
Right?
Yep.
20 years ago, when we graduated, like that was the benchmark of like, well, is it a human, or is it just a computer program? Well, it already got defeated. So then that's why we're going towards the more like, is it sentient? Like, when will it actually be sentient and be able to do things? The other avenue I wanted to go with on this, John, was when's the last time you heard about quantum computing? That was the big thing,
Mhm.
right? That was the big thing up until like a year ago. You'd hear about that. Like, people were spending lots of money on really fancy computers. Then that's been pretty quiet.
Yeah. So
What
actually,
I think makes the God, Pete.
I was going to say when I was working at MTech, and it is a few years before that, but we were really getting into a lot of that stuff too. Actually, I think when we were at Brown University, interviewing a professor there for another project, we did happen to go down and see like a quantum computer that they were building and testing. It was really cool, and so like it was a big thing that we were looking into at that point. And I'm trying to remember the name of the company that. It wasn't like a fully quantum computer. It was just very specific at like one thing. But we've gone from, at that point, the best computers from like IBM, Google and stuff were like barely even able to get 3 to 4 qubits or like processing that at one time. But now you're getting to like probably orders of magnitude past that as of a few years ago. But you're right. I haven't, outside of a couple buzz headlines here or there, we haven't really heard that much.
The reason why I mention it is because we went from like a large focus on what's our maximum throughput that we can do.
Right.
To now it's how can we quickly get data, use it effectively. And it's kind of like a divergent path in computer science.
Yeah, that was another.
That
was another thing. Maybe you can answer this too. I think as big of a problem as physically getting these computers built that could process the data, it was coming up with the correct algorithms to feed the things.
Yeah, I think the focus though is a lot of people have been focused on AI now. So that's maybe, I mean, we're still working on it, but just the focus isn't quite on it, and the headlines aren't around
Well, the
it.
focus in tech, like it always has been, is where you can make the most money. And the reason like microelectronics and microprocessors and all of that has really come like literally, it feels like 100 years of progress in the last 20, but in a lot of progress in the cell phone arena specifically is because it's very, very profitable.
Absolutely.
And so AI in the scope of replacing the search engine, and you could see how quickly Google moved in a way where you as a human can ask something conversational questions to get your answers, and it doesn't give you 20 examples, right? Because nobody wants to read anymore. It says this is the answer, and you as a human, if it's close, you're like, okay, that's the answer.
So I don't know if you guys experience this, but one of the big things that I notice, especially speaking with parents or even like a lot of friends that might not have gone to the same technical school. You guys all went to the same school with me, so you were kind of in the same cohort. But when I sit down to Google something, I can effectively use Google. But if my mother-in-law is trying to Google something, she can't necessarily get that answer.
That's right.
It's just a matter of her asking like the correct question. And it's things like generative AI, like ChatGPT, where they can basically have a conversation with it, drill down to what their actual question is.
Yep.
I think is where they're going to get a lot of market share of people getting really excited.
I think so too.
That's an excellent point.
That is good. Yeah.
I'm going to start over. The Microsoft investment in OpenAI and ChatGPT is literally for their own interests, and it's to put in Bing, which has already happened. The Bing preview is really kind of cool. You can tell it to be creative, you can tell it to be very factual, but you can talk to it. Their investment in art generation, which is also built into the Bing tool, and as
it's a POS.
The art generation is terrible.
It's garbage.
Yeah, but they're going to put it into Word and Excel. They're going to put it into literally everything they own because they are expecting, and they're probably right, that people don't want to write their own documents. They don't want to do their own searches, and they're just trying to really integrate that into a search engine, which they know is very profitable, right?
Well, let's go the next step there. So Microsoft's plan with Copilot is really going to take advantage of that. And the scuttle I'm hearing as far as that integration into healthcare is going to be ridiculous.
New York State is not sure what they want to do about Copilot and large language model AIs in general, and so they've just literally put the kibosh on ChatGPT across the board, and just we're doing DNS blocks on all of them. We're just saying nope, not right now.
Interesting.
No, but that's cool. They'll hang out. They'll watch some other states do it.
That's what they're gonna do.
You know,
Mhm.
they don't want to be on the bleeding edge. I respect that. But somebody's going to be.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I know people who are in marketing who are already using ChatGPT full time as their response to literally all of their marketing posts and professionally marketing posts, right? Because you can do really cool things like you can tell it, you can say, this is our writing style, write like this. You can say, write something with 4 idioms with some funny sentences and make sure you mention X, Y, and Z. And then when it writes it and you want it to change it, you say, change it. You say, make the last paragraph a little longer, add about 100 words, and I think we're good. And it'll do that too. I mean, it's so efficient and so great for everyone but content creators, because I think content creators are in a lot of trouble.
Yeah. If you figure ChatGPT is basically an unpaid intern for you,
That's right.
can turn your work around
Yeah.
super fast in those cases.
That's
It's like
very-
a Pete.
Hey,
It's like a
wait a second.
I measure movies in the amount of Pete's that are paid to make it.
Luckily, in my industry right now for visual effects, it's still kind of a tool and sometimes a dumb one. But it
Dolly
can.
is very bad at
but
art.
that
Very,
said,
very bad. So you're good for a little while.
kind of. I mean, that said, it is really good at producing awesome looking concept art very quickly. So that's actually, it is starting to creep into the concept artist profession and kicking some people out of that. So it is happening. It's just,
It's going to be sad,
yeah.
right? Like,
No, I know. Oh yeah.
know,
Like
They
we're still
can get, the original panels of Spider-Man blah. And, that's
Mhm.
super exciting. In the
Right.
future, that's not going to be a thing.
No. And right now, at least for what I do, right, for compositing and CG integration and stuff like that, it's still, at this point, barely a tool, but it's every new version of Nuke that comes out. It's like, hey, here's some new AI tool sets that are integrating, and every time it does
just
more
saw-
automatically. So it's like, okay, so you always have to kind of, your skill set has to stay above that. And it will get more and more challenging. I think you're right.
I just
as
saw
the years go on.
a Twitter post of 4 pictures of Evan Rachel Wood, and only one of them was real. And so the challenge of the meme was to find which one was real. And so I explained it to Melanie. Art generation is still very terrible at text, and so all the text in the background was blurry and nonsensical. But there was only one with really bad hair, and really, it was very hard. She got it wrong. Everybody I showed got it wrong.
Huh, wow.
And
Oh.
we should move on.
Oh, okay.
You can say your last thing.
I was going to say, so a parallel that I heard on another lesser podcast, I would say.
Thank you.
We're talking about like a music artist that basically made an engine of their
Yeah.
voice and put it out there and said like, hey, if you actually make a song, like I get a cut from it, but you can use me
That's
in your
That's
music.
amazing.
well, hey,
we
that's,
talked about something like something very similar, like
Drake made a whole album.
when Drake, yeah.
just
And
AI
they
album.
made a new Beatles track.
Yeah, yeah, the Beatles
Like,
used.
can't tell.
Exactly. But that feels wrong.
It does.
Doesn't it?
Yeah,
I know.
It
it's
does.
But it doesn't
It's stuff
also
like
tell
that.
you how formulaic the music industry is.
all that too. Yeah,
But it's stuff like that where your content will eventually be able to get created, and you're not going to be able to see a difference.
Yeah.
There's a difference between this and like the spoofing like Rogan, like
right.
talking about stuff.
I mean, I think it's gonna get there. And
Oh, it's coming.
It's one of those very in the cards, very natural progressions of technology.
It's coming.
I think we're there already,
Mm.
honestly. And we're like 5 minutes over. So.
Sorry, that
All
was
right.
that was a good.
That's okay.
We had a
My last topic is actually going to combine robots and sports. So we can talk a little bit more
Sports
about
robots.
this.
Awesome. Yeah, more topics. Yeah, I can't talk. More topics with sports robots makes for a better show.
Who's got a next topic?
Pete does.
Next topic.
Sports robots.
I don't know.
Amazing.
So last week, Instant Replay overturned a close play at the plate that would have had the Texas Rangers preserve a tie with the Chicago White Sox. The replay official ruled that the catcher for the Rangers was illegally blocking the plate and the path of the runner, therefore allowed the runner to score. Now, the White Sox ultimately won the game by that one run. Now, many would argue, including myself, that the catcher was not blocking the plate, but the ruling in New York was official and came from a human being. So, everyone, was the controversial loss for the Rangers an argument for robot umpires?
I mean, I think robot umpires are coming, and clearly coming to a point where, the fact that they're using them, the fact that they're good. I guess a question on robot umpires is: are they going to be making calls like that?
Well, that's probably not going to be
That is much
tomorrow.
harder, functionally.
Right. That's probably not going to be tomorrow, but the more sophisticated AI and robots get, it could lead to that, right? Because essentially, what are safe and out calls? I mean, it's really just a bunch of zeros and ones, right? It's like either this happened or it didn't.
But I mean, like a baseline call is very subjective, and even the functional technology of the ability of someone who is, well, some camera, I guess, or some cyborg that is standing on the third base line being able to call in out at home seems very difficult. Right?
Does it need to be
not.
that? Couldn't
It's
it
just gonna have a big camera with a lot of pixels,
Yeah.
and it's gonna be like that guy imposed on the line by 2 pixels. It's no good.
Sure.
That's what it comes down
sure,
to.
right?
It can even
Sure.
be something as simple as like a chip in a baseball that knows exactly where it is to the millimeter and,
Chips
measure
and
the
baseballs
radius.
and a bunch of cameras. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I think that, and I think smart devices, smart balls, smart uniforms, I think we're a lot closer to that than we are to, say, some robot making a decision, right?
It's happening in the NFL,
Smartballs
right?
is going to destroy a family in Costa Rica making all of the major league balls. That is terrible.
Yeah.
Side note, can we name the episode Smart Balls? Because that's amazing.
Sorry. Yes.
I think that's great.
Wait, didn't we already have a smart balls?
Smarter balls.
Smart as balls.
Smart as balls.
Smarter
I
balls.
I thought the one we had was calling.
I guess it's a little close.
It's fine.
It's a little close. And really, if you think about it, that technology exists right now. Just like gyro technology and then your no-tail technology. The fact that a ball could tell today it was in some sort of radius around a player. Right?
Sure. I mean,
Just with your technology, which is a completely common technology right now.
yeah, I'm actually shocked that you don't have things like that, and maybe it's just because it would be too anal retentive, but like in hockey, like the offsides line, like why isn't there like some kind of laser like where they know when a skate crosses that threshold with a puck or not,
I mean, they totally could.
They could, and
Yeah. That doesn't even sound like science fiction, honestly, to me.
no, we have all the tech for that. Like when you do road races, right? Every little bib for like a 10,000, like I run the Boilermaker every couple of years. The 16,000 entrants, they know exactly to like the 100th of a second, which is, I mean, it's not really that precise, but like, you have a chip time, you have a chip in your bib. And it's super simple. You walk over this threshold and it knows the split second you start and finish that race. Like, why couldn't you just implement that on a broader scale? I'm sure they have already in certain sports or certain fields.
I think you probably could.
I think it's more people accepting it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
no
definitely
offense,
a part of it.
Yeah. You got to remember, cracking the Bud Light, like watching it's going to be like, damn robots.
Yeah. What did the microchips say?
Well, there's also a cost associated with it too. Like, what's the cost of a baseball? Let's say it's a cost $1 to make a baseball. Now, if you're going to add on some additional technology,
Right.
maybe like 30 years down the road, it's going to be a lot less. But now
It'll be like
you're
$10.
gonna,
Right.
yeah. And considering, and you think of the number of baseballs that go through a Major League Baseball game. Like I thought I heard it was something like 108 baseballs was average, and which seemed a little low to me. But so think about that: 100 baseballs times however many 162 games.
I just looked it up because I thought that it related. The average salary for an MLB umpire last year was $300,000. $300,000.
Really?
That seems
Yeah.
low.
Man.
Apparently.
I mean,
And so
it's still pretty good.
every game has 4.
4.
Every game has 4. There's 162 games. And let's just say every park has a set of 4. What is there? 32 teams.
30 teams.
30 teams. So 30 times 4 is 120 umps times $300,000 a year. 120 times 300,000. So that's a lot of baseballs, even at $20 a baseball, Mark. A lot of baseballs.
Yeah.
I wish I could do the math right.
But I mean,
well, you have to pay for the robots.
Yeah.
And you have to pay for someone to maintain the robots.
Yeah, the initial
right?
equipment investment is high, but it does even out over time as you're.
Oh, you're not just buying like it's gonna be like a Tesla robot where you're
that's true.
like a monthly fee kind of
I'm,
deal.
Right.
I'm actually pretty sure Elon Musk is working on
robots
that.
as a
$36
service.
billion.
Yep.
$36 billion.
And what, paying umpires?
Paying umpires.
And to tie into the last
1 year.
to tie into the last topic.
Put some Boston Dynamic dogs out there, like
Oh god.
And not like every
I don't
ump
think that
has its
math was
own
right.
not like every ump has its own set of 4 umpires, but maybe it does. Or every
It's
park has its
John.
own set
Okay,
of 4.
now to tie this back into the last topic, what happens when these robot umpires become sentient and then they start demanding their salaries themselves
And then
and better cost
and
of
then
living?
they go find their other robot friends at Boston Dynamics and take off their gun arms and then kill all the players.
Yeah.
Well,
Sorry.
and this is my crazy person fear, right? That the robots that Boston Dynamics are building that are mixing with their OpenAI counterparts that make their own decisions and solve their own problems by themselves, that also have weapons, have facial recognition and access to the internet.
Skynet.
We just built Skynet, you guys. It's done. We built it.
dun, 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 dun.
Sad panda. And on Skynet, I think we should move on.
This is like the 10th topic, by the way, in the history of the show, at least, that has ended with Skynet. It gets too depressing. We're like, damn it, the world's ending. We got to move on to the next topic.
No, you're right. Like, while we come up with 10 unique topics every single week, we probably end up talking about the same 5 things every single time.
It degenerates to that.
Well, the AI talk
I know.
always degenerates.
It always
to
ends up
Skynet,
just
because it's literally all it's actually about. Son of a bitch.
All right. Are we going to do it? Are we going to do it?
No. Maybe. I don't know. If you guys can do it, it's fine.
We can just do a regular one. Final topic. Fight.
Excellent.
It's you, John.
I know. I'm reading. Leave me alone. It's totally fine. I mean, just because it's topical, so we have to talk about it. The fight against gambling in football continues this offseason. And so a handful of players, including Colts cornerback Isaiah Rodgers, and actually, since I wrote this question, 3 players were suspended and they received season-long suspensions for violating the NFL's gambling policies. There are now, and I looked up this, which I thought was interesting, 6 key rules of the policy related to gambling. And these 6 rules are: don't bet on the NFL, obvious. Don't gamble at your team's facility while traveling for a road game or staying in a team hotel, also obvious. Don't let someone bet for you. Don't share team inside information. Don't enter a sports book during the NFL playing season, and don't play daily fantasy football. And so, why do we think the NFL suddenly cares so much about sports gambling? Is this related to the sudden rise in legal online gambling options, and how can they be sure to stop everyone?
I mean, it's the whole integrity of the game debate, right?
Yeah.
They want to make sure the games are fair. But they're getting paid by these companies also. They're getting sponsored, and I mean, it's total hypocrisy of the NFL, isn't it? Like,
I mean, it's pretty funny, actually.
It's kind of funny. But now you haven't had any big name superstars. You haven't had like the $30 million quarterbacks. Danny Dimes is certainly not going to use this because he's making bank, right? But yeah, it's the guys that are kind of making like the league minimum, and they want to make a little bit more money. Now, here's what I've been thinking about. How does the NFL nab these people?
Right. How do they know?
Are they tied into the players' phones?
Ooh, I don't know. They do seem to have an awfully tight control over day to day.
If there is, I'm sure they have some of the tie-ins. If they're using wireless at the team facilities, you can see what they're looking up on the network, right?
I mean, even the league minimum players are rich men, right? Rich men with a lot of people that work for them. I mean,
Compared to us, yeah.
I'd be super happy if I
Doesn't
made
take
what's
much for
league
that.
minimum $1 million. I'd be happy if I made $1 million a year. Jesus Christ.
You'd also need an entourage of like 12 people just
Hell
to
yeah.
carry your stuff.
Right.
So,
And make
Same
my
thing.
legal sports gambling bets for me, guys.
so I've learned that I either need to be an umpire, or the new thing that I'm thinking is showing players how to use a VPN on their phone.
Yeah.
I think that's good for like 150 grand a year.
I think so,
like, just
yeah.
cheap. Like,
Oh,
I'll
at
help
least.
Oh, more than that.
Oh no,
Yeah.
you need to think a little higher, Oak, for that one.
you. I was thinking multiple people.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like,
Oh, per person, 150 million per person.
Yeah.
There you go.
Seems good.
I like it.
I mean, and I think the guys who are
That's
making more money
that's actually a really good idea.
just aren't getting caught, right? I mean, because why
Oh,
wouldn't you?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you gamble on a thing that you had a decision, like a factual decision-making part in it? I think it comes back to the fact too that like the players are very aware of fantasy football, like incredibly aware. of
Oh,
it. They
that was
talk about it,
that was a rule now too. You can't play fantasy football anymore.
right,
Yep.
right.
Yeah.
So you can't mention it in your post game comments anymore either, because you might get fined for that.
Love to mention it.
Right.
It's
They
like,
love to
I'm
mention
sorry
it.
about the fantasy players. Because so and so just didn't play the last whole quarter of the game.
Yeah. But I mean,
It feels fixed sometimes. It really does.
all it takes though is like for some linebacker, right, to like, oh man, I got like such and such running back on the team I'm playing, so I'm just not going to tackle him all day, like win my fantasy match.
Well, it's
right?
even worse than
That's
that.
what
It's like,
that's
well,
what I think they're trying to prevent. At least I don't know if that's really
if you're
a
betting
problem or not.
if you're betting against your team, like that's what they want to prevent.
Of course, yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm just not going to try because
Yeah.
I'm going to win $1 million if I lose this game.
But then
Well,
again,
and it's a
right.
situation of insider trading. I mean, it's a commodity with insider knowledge. If you know that, Mahomes is actually secretly hurt, and like the funny thing about football is they don't share actual injury information because teams are
No.
literally going to be out to hurt other
It's
people.
still a
But you
privacy
know-
issue too.
right? And but he's hurt. He's playing 2 quarters. Like
Yeah.
you just know it, and you make $5 million a year, so you bet $2 million on a team like the Browns are playing the Chiefs, but the Chiefs are going to lose because they don't need to win. They're going to throw the game because Mahomes is hurt. Like all this information.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be allowed to bet on that game.
Yeah, and
but
now
you are.
these restrictions applicable to staff, coaches, like GM, owner?
Everybody.
Like,
Mhm.
is it to the owners though? Like the
Well,
commissioner, like
Let's be honest. They're only worried about the players.
Well, what's
I
interesting
know.
too, and Mark, you did mention this, but this round of actually 4 players that got suspended, all various nobodies,
Mhm.
and so it's
except for the
like
entire wide
we're
receiver
in-
group of the Detroit Lions.
except for the entire wide receivers. But I mean, they're also
Well, still,
the Detroit
Jameson Williams
Lions.
was probably the only big name, and he's
Okay.
still he's on a rookie contract.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, right? Isaiah Rodgers, Rashad Berry, Demetrius Taylor, and some guy named Nicholas Petit-Frere.
Ooh,
Fat-
All guys with weird ass names that I've never heard of. I mean, I've heard of Isaiah Rodgers, Rashad Berry.
but that's only because you've looked him up. Like if this never came up, you probably would have never heard of Isaiah Rodgers, right?
So, what better way to look like you're enforcing a policy than suspending people who don't matter?
yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
The NHL does it all the time.
Again, those are the ones that are
with,
going to do it because
injury
Jalen Hurts
suspension,
doesn't have to
or-
do it. Jalen Hurts doesn't have to gamble.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes doesn't have to gamble.
No,
Danny Dimes doesn't have to gamble.
that's true.
So, you just said Danny Dimes, the same sentence as Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes. Just fun.
He's making the same amount of money as
He
them.
is.
Work that around in your head.
He's
Did you
making
know
the same amount of money as them.
the
I-
Kelsey guy. Oh, because I'm going to say something.
I just feel like it's also a degree of people being a little bit more street smart with this stuff.
Yeah.
Like you hear all the stories about like Jordan like betting with janitors and stuff like
Oh,
before
yeah,
and after games on stuff. Not on the game, but like just on stupid stuff.
Like,
Yeah.
Everybody's competitive, like type A in a lot of cases. Feel like it's more prevalent than just like poor guys.
right.
Oh, you're absolutely right, Oak. There's a lot of it going on, like those side hustles and like how do you the third rule I think John you mentioned was like you're not allowed to have someone else bet for you. How the hell do you enforce that?
Yeah, that when you get
mean,
a
you
couple degrees separation, how is that? Yeah,
That's
But
the kind
before
of
that
stuff
whole
where-
came up, before that whole came out, it was like, all right, you guys don't want to get caught gambling, get someone else to do it for you. That was before these rules came out, though.
I mean, they're trying to cover their bases. They're trying to say we, the NFL, are against sports insider gambling.
Sometimes you
And
make
really-
up rules before you can enforce them, though.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Let's get the
And right-
rule out there. Then we'll try
They
to
have to
figure
be.
out like.
And the perfect example of sports gambling forever is Pete Rose, one of the
Pete Rose.
best hitters
Yeah.
in the history of baseball, isn't in the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
In the history of baseball.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, why? Because he gambled and he got caught.
Yep.
So then the question is, I mean, sports gambling has been a thing for 60 years. Like, how many players have gambled?
I mean, I'd
Probably
wager.
a lot of them. 'cause
Well,
of
the
the-
Black Sox scandal too, right?
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, way more than 60 years, but right in modern league.
We'll just say modern sports with modern
Yeah,
television.
as long as that's been going on,
televised sports.
there's been betting with
Gambling has
within
always
the
been
league, yeah.
synonymous with sports,
Oh, yeah.
right?
For sure.
Says the
Boxing,
Italian from
I
New
mean,
York.
Mhm.
yeah, there you go. There you
Right.
go.
Now it's so prevalent and it's so easy online.
Yeah.
I made a lot of really great prop bets this past Super Bowl, and I did it from a phone, and it was super fun.
Nice. What was your favorite?
I don't remember. I didn't win
Okay.
any of them.
Oh, you didn't win any of them?
I mean, there's always the
All right.
classic.
Don't
like,
listen to John on prop bets.
There's always a classic over under for the national anthem singing length.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
All right. Are we ready, Pete?
Think so.
Can I go?
Bring us home.
Press the button.
All
Press
right.
the button, Speed.
So that has been our 10 topics. We would like to thank our guests for joining us this week. Thank you, Oak.
Thanks, Oak.
Thank you. Oak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please follow or like us on our socials at If These Balls Pod on Twitter, or you can talk to us through Discord. This is Mark Pesci, and for my partner John Campania and producer Pete Steffen, that's what we feel they would say if these balls could talk. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Later.
Yes.
If these balls